Hello, my name is Joe Reynolds, and we're here at Love is Love Farm at Gaia Gardens. Today we're going to talk about producing shiitake mushrooms on hardwood logs for market. Shiitakes can be a really lucrative enterprise for a farm. We take them to market and can sell them for upwards of $16 to $20 a pound, fresh cut, and a little bit of a lower price point to our restaurant customers. The production of shiitake mushrooms on hardwood logs has two stages. The first stage is when you take little bits of the shiitake mycelium and inoculate it into the log. Essentially what will happen is that mycelium has to grow and thread all throughout the log until it's completely grown through every inch of that log. That's called the colonization of the shiitake mushroom stage. After that stage, the shiitake will have really nowhere to go, so it'll move into a reproductive stage, which is when you'll see it begin to produce the shiitake mushroom caps. The colonization stage can take anywhere from 6 months to a year. All right, so like a lot of the commercial mushroom growers that grow on hardwood logs, we use an angle grinder for our drill mechanism. Most fungi companies will sell you this drill bit adapter that can fit on the threaded bolt of the angle grinder. We also buy these routing bits from the fungi company as well. You're going to want to keep in mind that you're using a pretty high-speed tool, so be careful when operating it. We like to make sure that we're using safety glasses to protect our eyes and earmuffs to protect our hearing. It doesn't make you look very cool. We want to make the holes in the log within the row anywhere from 4 to 6 inches apart, and then we offset and space rows anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches between the rows. So this is our colonized sawdust spawn. It's a shiitake strain called WR46, which means wide range 46. We prefer to buy our shiitake mycelium as a 5-pound sawdust spawn bag. This is great because we can get somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 logs inoculated from each bag, and the cost per unit is significantly less. This is an inoculator. There are a couple of different styles. I prefer the palm style inoculator to plunge the spring that's inside the head of this inoculator with the palm of my hand. It's pretty nice to check to make sure you're putting full amount of spawn in each hole. And I like to just do one line at a time. At the end of inoculating all the holes, I like to just roll the log back and double check to make sure that we've filled every single hole with shiitake sawdust spawn. And then we move to the next station, waxing. We use cheese wax to provide a thin layer of coating to protect that freshly inoculated mycelium. We use a hot plate and a dedicated pot to keep that wax at a medium heat, sort of a little before it starts smoking heavily. The next tool we use for waxing is also sourced from the fungi company. We used a cotton-tipped wax dauber, which we insert into the wax and pick up a nice fair amount of wax, and then move from hole to hole to provide a thin layer on top of all of that freshly inoculated mycelium. I also like to wax all of the cut limbs that are on the length of the log. I want to make sure that I provide some protection against an opportunistic fungi, another fungi that may come in and colonize the log before the shiitake has a chance to take hold. We like to use aluminum tags to document the strain of shiitake that we've used for inoculation, and the most important thing is we can write down the date of the inoculation. We like to place our logs in an area where they'll get around 60% shade a day. The reason for this is that the actual mycelium or network of fungi that lives within the log has a distaste for sunlight. However, when the fruiting begins, the mushroom cap actually has a preference and grows according to the amount of light available. We use this low crib style of stacking our logs because it does two really nice things. The first is that it creates an efficiency of space. We don't have a whole lot of area to use, and so we can fit more logs in a smaller space. But the second reason is we like to have at least one of those unwaxed ends of the log to have contact with the ground so that the wood can actually pull in moisture from the ground cover that's below it as well. Once the colonization of the log has successfully taken place, the fruiting of the shiitake mushrooms will be dependent on two important factors. The first is almost an excessive amount of moisture. Something in the neighborhood of an inch of water can shock the mycelium into producing mushrooms. The other factor will be the temperature for the time of the year. I love growing shiitakes because they utilize a space on the farm that we often don't think of as productive. They also make a great accompaniment to the other things that we grow here. I find when I go to the farmer's market with the shiitake mushrooms, they're an eye catcher, and usually when customers come to purchase them from me, they'll also stick around and talk about all of the other things that I grow and leave with a little bit more.